147, not... Kenyans killed in that horrific attack in Garissa, at Garissa University College. The worst thing for a parent is to lose their child. And for these parents, the events of exactly 1 week ago will forever live in their memories and in ours as well. 147 lives lost in a flash. Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. We continue to mourn as a nation because we are a nation in pain. After those events a week ago, a lot of Kenyans are asking some tough questions. Is the homeland safe? What is the state of security or insecurity in this country? Tonight, I have two young Kenyans who have been vocal most of their lives in talking about issues that affect us as Kenyans. Boniface Mwangi organized a vigil that just happened to coincide with the 21st anniversary of the Rwanda genocide. It was 2 days ago on April the 7th. Hundreds attended it at Uhuru Park. Very touching ceremony, and one that Kenyans literally came together as one. He's here tonight, along with another young man who's been vocal on just about every issue you can think about. Ngunjiri Wambugu. He writes a column every Monday in the Star. And yes, sometimes he's for the government of Jubilee, sometimes he is against it. He is an equal opportunity critic, if you will. Tonight, we're going to keep talking about this country going forward. Twitter handles are at Ngunjiri Wambugu, and that's W-A-M-B-U-G-U, and not W-A-M-B-O-G-U, like someone hacked it or did something. Oh, you're welcome. And of course, at Boniface Mwangi, and mine is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag we can use 147, not just a number. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Tonight on TV, the government has admitted, Boniface, that the operation in Garissa was not perfect. In other words, saying that mistakes were made. Are you surprised?
Yes and no. They made mistakes. It's good admitted. But I think the president of this country, as the commander-in-chief, should have done that himself. I haven't seen him in public since that thing happened. He hasn't left State House, so to speak. So I think the responsibility lies on the president. And so he should have been the one saying those words. Mistakes are made, but do you ever learn from mistakes? Once it happened, we never learn from those mistakes. Garissa has happened, are we going to learn from those mistakes? We can't be a country that keep repeating mistakes. We start with the new Boynet, who is the police commissioner, goes in Kaiseri, who decided to fly there and leave Veke Squad behind. They flew in a PR team. Our government, when there's a crisis, they bring in the PR team. You know, they've watched too much scandal. Olivia Pope. So every crisis about, how do we spin this?
Spinning, yeah.
Like today, there's a big spin online. There's a 2 year of success.
I'll come back to that because it's your friend Dennis Itobi.
It's hurting because
that is your friend.
They can't.
Ngunjiri, I'll come back to that. Ngunjiri, real quick. Boniface alluded to the fact that the CS and the IG flew in a helicopter. GSU Recce Squad was on standby, ready to move into Garissa. They were called in at, I think, 0600. By the time they got there was 9 hours later. It took them somewhere between 12 and 18 minutes to take out the 4 terrorists. One of them dying in the process because he was trying to arrest him and the guy blew himself up. Is that unforgivable in your opinion?
You know, Boniface, just before the show started, told me that I have to try and not spin for government. I don't know where he gets that impression that I do.
He's a government spin doctor.
No. But see, also, a couple of things. I listened to Manoa explaining about the whole issue of Kaiseri flying down to Garissa, and he said that Kaiseri flew down with I think a 3 or 6-man helicopter which could not carry 24 people. Now, I don't know whether that is true. That is what I had him say. Now, and I think, first and foremost, we must accept that mistakes were made. It should never have happened. Even now, talking about the mistakes that happened after, in trying to manage the situation, trying to save the lives, we already passed one mistake. That the people we are talking about here, I saw a lady called Siokao, I saw Okoi, I mean, those people we're talking about should never have lost their lives. So we already had one mistake done. Now, I've had a lot of conversations about whether lessons have been learned. I don't think enough lessons have been learned, but I see some lessons have been learned. And then, for example, let me point out something. We do not have as many photos from Garissa as we had in Westgate.
Censorship. That's not.
I don't know whether that's a good thing.
A lesson.
I don't know whether. I think we all complained about some of those photos.
They were graphic.
They were graphic.
Very graphic.
So the fact that they are not out there, okay, a minority or a majority.
The outrage. Let me tell you. So what the KGF did was actually cordon off the school. The guys came to kill. They're not going to come out, so they're in killing people. And so when you talk about censorship and saying that there are no pictures, that's not a big deal. You're talking about Alex, who's the only son, who died, Veronica, Obedi, Angela, and you can count 150 people have died. Were mistakes made? Great mistakes.
But of course, I mean,
look at the response. The only people who responded and responded very well is Kenya Red Cross. It seems that this country is run by Kenya Red Cross. Because without the Kenya Red Cross, there's no country. If you look at every single crisis, every single disaster, who responds first? Kenya Red Cross. If you look at the people who are handling the relatives of the victims at the morgue, it's Kenya Red Cross, who have been appealing on Twitter for soda, bread, milk, water. We learned lessons, but you cannot even feed the hungry. When Westgate happened, our president visited the relatives at the hospital. He condoled with them. When these kids died, he has not done anything.
The First Lady has been at Chiramo a couple of times.
She works. That lady works. She even runs to save mothers' lives. She works. So, looking about the person who was elected, First Lady does that as a private citizen. I call First Lady an activist because she's an active citizen. She takes a stand and goes the whole way. Why do we need to beg to feed our people at Chiramo Mortuary?
Ngunjiri, can lessons be learned from what happened in Garissa? I mean, the news was trickling. Remember early hours, it was like 5 dead, 6 dead.
Yes.
And, you know, people went on their business. By evening time...
Actually, by 11 o'clock, it was... You know, the problem we have in this country is that northeastern attacks and lives lost are usually an afterthought news. So even all the way up to 11 o'clock of that day, we were still talking about there has been an attack in Garissa. I mean, nobody had actually realized how big it was. And it's important for me to also point out something. Boniface is complaining about censorship. Every country in the world censors terrorist attacks. Every country in the world. You do not see photographs. Even the US, Britain, France, every country in the world. I do not know what he wants us to do. You know, and the problem about sitting on the same bench with Boniface is that I agree with a lot of what he says. But then he sometimes takes... You see, we need constructive discontent. We need to actually be able to give solutions to the conflicts that we make it.
Why? Let him finish.
So part of the frustration I have with Boniface, and he's a brilliant guy. I love what he's done with the vision. But part of my problem with some of the things, some of the positions he takes is that he's got a lot of influence in this country. Look at what he's just done with the vision. He can get people to do stuff. I wish we could actually see that moving to build. A lot of the times I keep getting the feeling is that he's shooting down everything he sees standing up. That's my problem.
So instead of responding to innuendos, I would love to respond to something specific. Say something specific that I've actually shot down. One thing, don't say innuendos, just give me one thing.
Okay, let me jump in.
There's no need for me to respond.
Actually, I have a whole list.
Okay, you can come, but let me just jump in real quick, and we're going off topic, but we'll come back. You have seen nothing good in what the Jubilee government has done in the last 2 years. You've seen nothing good, Boniface.
We did not elect the Jubilee government to do evil. If they
you don't speak.
You can't blame them.
No, listen. If they do good, they're supposed to be doing good. If they fulfill the manifesto, they're supposed to be doing that. We have a president who's breaking the constitution. We have a president who's defying the courts. This year alone, Jeff, 7 people have been shot dead in peaceful protests. This year alone, when you go to court and arrested protesting, they're asking for 300,000 bail. When a member of parliament is arrested for rape, is 100,000 bond. The problem is that we want to look at this thing in a very minute way. I want us to look at it holistically. Is the country better? Are the people poorer? There's more insecurity. More people are dying. Let me tell you, one life is worth $1 billion or more shillings. It's worth much, much more. Anglo-Leasing happened. This country doesn't have a forensic lab because of what? Corruption. And corruption has become like a bedfellow of Uhuru Kenyatta. And I'll tell this guy, there's a Kikuyu saying, he speaks a lot of Kikuyu. There's no thief and the onlooker. If people are stealing in government and the president is there, he has become part of the cartel of stealing.
A week ago, Boniface, a week ago, you called me and you said, I want to come on your show because I want to defend the president with what he's done on the list of shame. Remember?
Yes.
You called me.
Yes.
So there's one thing at least you admitted that he had done right.
Then I realized, because I made some few phone calls, I realized the president gave the people who stepped aside 60 days. 60 days is a long time. 60 days is enough to kill witnesses, intimidate them, bribe them, or silence them. 60 days is enough time to hide your assets that you have stolen. 60 days is a long time to correct those mistakes that you made. The president gave these guys a window to escape from. Because if you're going to, for example, ban Mwangi Kenya, which is not a terrorist organization, and Haki Africa, if you're going to ban those without listening to them and freeze their assets, you need to freeze assets of people who have been accused. This country, the most dangerous job, Jeff, is not to be president. The most dangerous job in this country is to be a witness against a powerful person. You have seen it in time past. So 60 days is enough to actually, these guys cleanse themselves. And mark my words, very few, if possible, are going to go to court, and most of them to be jailed. This country is 51 years old, and we have never given anyone a sentence that is commensurate to the sins they did. Economic thieves walk away. Another thing, second thing that is most important, the reason why Garissa attack happened is because of corruption. We don't have a single police officer in jail for corruption because this country does not jail anyone for corruption.
Ngunjiri,
yes.
Let's stick to the list of shame because before we go on break, real quick. Are you with Boniface on this, or did something happen the day that list was released? Was there a paradigm shift? Was there a wake-up call, if you will?
I think so. And again, I feel sad by the fact that, you see, we have a situation where we are not willing to give anyone benefit of the doubt. And my problem in this country is that we will complain that Muhuri has been struck out and Haki has been, the assets have been, they've been blacklisted and the assets have been, what did you say they've been done? Frozen. But we will not have the same complaint when we see somebody else who we believe is guilty being done the same thing. So we already have and I'm not saying Boniface is one of that group, but we already have a group that says that the people who are mentioned, they're 175, should quit their jobs and go home. But see, we live in a country that has laws, including for guilty people. You see, the thing about, even in this country, when you kill someone, and there are witnesses who see you killing that person, you have to go to court, you'll say, no, I'm not guilty, and they will argue, and you can go, that case can go on for six years for all that we know. And that, unfortunately, is part of the price of living in the kind of country we live in. I was telling you about an example of Saudi Arabia and how they dealt with terrorists. They came up with a strategy that they called root and branch.
Root and branch.
Root and branch. Anytime there was a terrorist attack, they didn't even bother with the terrorists. They went after the terrorists' families. They got their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their nephews, their nieces, anybody they could get. If you're in government, they got you fired. If you're in a private business, they put pressure on that business to get you fired. If you're in university as a student, they got you expelled. They basically messed up your life. Now, that's Saudi Arabia. You know why they can do that? Because they are what? That authoritarian monarchy. They can do that. Now, in our country, we can't do stuff like that. So we have a sword that cuts both ways. It's got advantages in that Boniface and I can come and sit here and we can tell government whatever we want. It has disadvantages in that the people we think are bad have the right to be able to spend their money. As you said, every country in the world, witnesses get killed. That is part of the process of how criminals protect themselves. So the work of the government and security forces is to make sure the witnesses don't get killed. So we can't argue that we're giving people time, because that's part of the process.
Gentlemen, I want to take a break, come back and talk about, among other things, House Majority Leader Aiden Duale's statement.
He's actually accused of terrorism. His brother has been accused of terrorism. It's alleged that the terrorist slept in his hotel. He's been accused of murder. There's a story online, I'm going to post it right now. Aiden Duale is the majority leader in parliament. He's the defender-in-chief for the president. He's a sycophant-in-chief, but guess what? He's a terrorist.
We don't know that. Alleged. We don't know that.
Alleged terrorist, same difference.
We don't know that. Disclaimer. Let's take a break. Talk about that and a lot more. At the end of the day, folks, these young kids have names. Beatrice Jerry Finwa, Selfa Wandia, Isaac Koskei, Solomon Olunda, the KDF guy?
Yes.
Real hero.
We shot
Real hero.
the first guys to be killed.
Doreen Special Rose Gaki, Angela Kimata, Obedi Okiring Okodoi, Veronica Siokau, Alex, 19-year-old, only child, and many, many more. Remember those names? Remember what happened. We keep saying this will not happen again. But if I could just quote the president just once, Boniface, if you don't mind. Ulinzi unanza na mimi.
Give me a gun.
Ulinzi unanza nawe.
Give me a gun.
JKL takes a break. Give you a gun?
Yes, how do I defend myself?
We'll be back.